Hello, my name is Brad Brackens, and I'm a consultant with Evergreen Solutions. Thank you for taking the time to view this orientation video. As you were previously informed, Surry County Schools has contracted with Evergreen Solutions to conduct a classification and compensation study. This is a very important study, and you play a vital role in it. The purpose of this orientation video is to help you better understand who we are, what this study entails, and how you'll be participating. First, let me provide you with a little bit of background information about Evergreen Solutions. We are a private human resources management consulting firm that works with public sector organizations throughout the nation. These organizations include cities, counties, school districts, community colleges, state agencies, and more. We have conducted literally hundreds of studies similar to this in almost every state, so you can rest assured that we bring a lot of expertise to the table. What is this study all about? Well, the word I want you to come away with is equity or fairness. The ultimate goal of this study is to improve the equity of compensation and classification in the division. We want to ensure that everyone has the appropriate job title based on their job duties, that everyone is being paid fairly compared to others in the division, and that pay is competitive in the employment market. To that end, we will be evaluating the division's classification system through something called the Job Assessment Tool, which I will be discussing soon. We will also be conducting an external survey of market peers to determine the competitiveness of the division's compensation structure. Once we have gathered and analyzed all data, we will develop recommendations for improvement. You may be wondering what to expect. Well, let's go over what this study is and what it is not. As previously stated, the purpose of this study is to analyze and evaluate the current compensation and classification system in order to provide recommendations to improve its internal and external equity. This will be done through multiple internal analyses as well as an external market survey of peer organizations. You may be wondering if this means that you'll be receiving a pay increase. Well, maybe. It cannot be stated clearly enough that we are not promising across-the-board pay increases, but we can promise you that we will not be recommending any pay decreases. While we will be reviewing job titles and the pay structure, we will not be focusing at all on staffing levels and will not make recommendations regarding optimum levels. Lastly, you can expect open communication throughout this process. On to discuss how you personally factor into all this. First, select employees will have the opportunity to participate in a focus group in which they will answer questions related to compensation and classification in the division. The questions will solicit your feedback of what you feel is working well and what stands in need of improvement. In order to facilitate open and honest feedback, your responses will be kept confidential. The information provided in these focus groups helps Evergreen to recognize particular problem areas that require attention. Perhaps the most important way that you'll be participating in this study is by completing the Job Assessment Tool, or JAT for short. As this is such an important part of the study, we will be going in depth about it starting on the next slide. Lastly, after the JAT deadline has passed, supervisors will then review the information provided to ensure that it is accurate and that we at Evergreen have the full, complete picture we need to develop the best recommendations. The Management Issues tool is a part of this review process, which we will discuss soon. In going over the JAT, my goal is to not only help you understand what it is and why it is so important, but to motivate you to want nothing more than to fill it out. The JAT is used to collect information about classifications that helps Evergreen determine how work is organized throughout the organization, and whether classifications performing similar types of work are being compensated fairly. As I stated previously, we want to make sure that everyone's job title accurately reflects the work that they are performing, and that they are fairly compensated for that work. The information you will be providing in the JAT will provide Evergreen with the information needed to recommend a system to the organization that accomplishes this. In the invitation you received, there is a 6-digit unique ID, which is essentially your own personal password needed to log into the JAT. Simply click on the link in the email to access the JAT and enter your unique ID to begin completing it. The JAT is available 24 hours a day from any computer with internet access. You will have exactly 2 weeks to complete the JAT. At the end of the 2-week period, supervisors will then have 1 week to log in and review the completed JATs of those employees they supervise. I will be going over this process momentarily. Let's take a moment now to give an overview of the JAT so that you'll be comfortable with it and understand what is expected of you. The JAT gathers a lot of different information related to your job, such as its essential functions, qualifications, and the physical abilities required to perform its functions. When you click on the link in your email invitation, you will be brought to this web page. Simply copy your unique ID and paste it into the appropriate field. Doing so should display your last name below. You will then click Continue. The next page has 2 buttons, Employee JAT and Supervisor Review. Again, for the first 2 weeks, everyone will click on Employee JAT to complete their own. During the Supervisor Review period, supervisors will click Supervisor Review to complete their reviews. For now, let's click on Employee JAT. The JAT is comprised of 5 sections, and we'll go over each one individually. First, let's click on the Basic Information button at the top. In the Basic Job Information section, you will be providing Evergreen with several pieces of information. First, you will provide a brief overall description of your job duties. Let me pause for a moment to point out what the JAT is not. It is not a professional autobiography. The intent of the JAT is not to capture your own personal history in the organization, but rather we want to know about the job duties you perform. In the job introduction, provide enough detail that we can easily and fully understand your job, but don't write a novel. Also, please do not copy and paste your current job description. One of the main reasons we conduct the JAT in the first place is because your current job description may not accurately reflect the work performed in your position. Of course, you may find it helpful to review your job description for ideas, but please avoid the temptation to copy and paste. Continuing on, you will also indicate any supervisory responsibilities of your position in terms of the number of employees you supervise. Continuing in Section 1, you will then indicate the type of work your position primarily performs. There are 6 different types listed, such as clerical, technical, and executive. Please select the choice that best matches your job duties. Next, you will indicate what you think should be the minimum qualifications for the job in terms of education, experience, licensure, and certification. Please note that we are not asking you what the job description says, but rather what you think should be required. Once you have completed this section, and any section for that matter, you will notice a Save button at the bottom of the page. Clicking on this button for any section will save the information you have entered. You will never see a Submit button anywhere in the JAT because the Save button functions as a Submit button also. Once you are done with the section, click Save and return to the page with all 5 JAT sections listed. Section 2 of the JAT is entitled Essential Functions. In Section 1, you provided a brief description of your job duties. In Section 2, you will be providing details for each job duty line by line. You have up to 15 task boxes to complete. If you find that you need more than 15, we suggest that you combine tasks in a way that makes sense. Next to each task, indicate the percentage of time, on average, that you are completing that particular task. Lastly, if that particular job duty is one of the primary duties of the position, click Priority. In Section 3, you will be rating your job duties along 5 job factors, which helps us better understand the duties of your position. The first of these factors is leadership, which deals with the degree to which a classification receives direction or provides direction to others. For each job factor, read each of the 8 possible selections and choose the one best match. In some cases, you may not find a selection which matches your job duties exactly. That's okay. Please do not leave anything blank, but simply select the best match. While not shown here, at the bottom of each job factor is an area for you to provide any details you may feel are necessary for us to understand your selection for that job factor. The second job factor is working conditions, which deals with the degree to which a classification operates in an environment of change or risk to oneself or others. Again, read each choice and choose the one best match. The third job factor is complexity, which looks at the degree to which higher level education, knowledge, or analytical abilities must be utilized by the classification. The fourth job factor is decision making, which considers the degree to which a position acts autonomously and oversees the actions of others. The fifth and final job factor is relationships, which deals with the degree to which the classification interacts with others. Again, I'd like to state that for each of the 5 factors, we want you to read each of the 8 statements and select the one best match. Do not skip any. Section 4 requires you to indicate the equipment and machinery that are used to complete your job duties. Select all that apply. Section 5 asks you to indicate which physical abilities are absolutely required to perform your job duties. Select all that apply. And thus concludes the overview of the JAT. The JAT takes on average about 45 minutes to complete, and that is time very well spent. Before moving on, there are a few additional things I would like to point out. Be sure to click the Save button in each section. You may find it works best for you to complete parts of the JAT at different times rather than all at once. As long as you save your work, it will be there when you return. Our system is not set up to automatically send you a confirmation email once you have finished your JAT, so please do not expect one. Also, your JAT will not register in our system as complete if you have left any sections blank. If you have completed the entire JAT and clicked Save, you can rest assured that all is in order. Lastly, do not leave the JAT open for too long because it will time out after an hour. If you have not saved your work during that time, it will be lost. Make the Save button your best friend. And as always, if there are any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us by email. That covers everything related to the employee JAT. Now I want to go over the JAT supervisor review process. The first thing I want to point out is that the JAT is not a performance review and will not be treated as one. The purpose of the supervisor review is to ensure that we at Evergreen have the full, complete picture of a position's job duties. As I will show you in a moment, your supervisor will review the information you provide in your JAT and simply indicate whether or not they agree with that information. They can also provide any additional details necessary. They will not be changing any of your responses. At the beginning of the review period, supervisors will receive a separate email inviting them to complete their reviews. This email will contain the JAT link and their original unique ID. Supervisors will click the link and log in once again using the unique ID. Once logged in, the supervisor will click on Supervisor Review and will be brought to this screen. Each employee that they are assigned to supervise should be listed. If anyone is missing or if someone is there that shouldn't be, please let your HR department know and they will work with us to quickly correct the issue. Once an employee has completed their JAT, it will be shown below their name. The supervisor will hover over the employee's name and will click on the link below their name that says View Details to view their JAT. At the top of this screen is a button that says Click to download the Management Issues tool. This is another way for supervisors to provide us with important information, and I'll go over this tool in a moment. Upon clicking View Details for each employee, the supervisor will go through each section of the JAT and review the information. If the supervisor agrees, they will simply click Agree in each section. If not, they will click Disagree. In each section, the supervisor may provide any details they feel are needed for us to better understand the job duties of the position. As I said before, the Management Issues tool, or MIT for short, is another way for supervisors to provide Evergreen with information about the positions they oversee. When supervisors click the button to access the MIT, they will be taken to this screen. You will then enter information related to the employee and/or classification. The first part of the MIT asks about any classification or job title issues. Indicate if such an issue exists, the exact nature of the issue, and then provide any additional information related to the issue and your recommended solution. The next part of the MIT asks about any compensation or pay grade issues. As was the first part, Indicate if such an issue exists, the exact nature of the issue, and any additional related information in your recommended solution. Once finished, you will click Save at the bottom of the screen. I highly recommend that all supervisors at least check the MIT out because it is a highly useful tool. Submit as many MITs as is needed. That concludes this orientation video. I hope that you have come to better understand what this study is all about and why it is so very important. I also hope that you feel personally invested in it because this study truly does impact you. If you do not feel motivated enough, allow me a moment to drive the point home. I pointed out previously that we cannot promise across-the-board pay increases, and that is true. While we cannot promise you personally that you will receive a pay increase, we can promise you that if you do not fill out the JAT, you are not helping your chances. So please, take the time to complete the JAT, and do not wait until the last moment to do so. We are truly excited about this study, as I suspect you are as well. As I've already said, please feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.